I'm out here walking in the rainy forest. It's Trixie the Golden Witch with a review of the new Denzel Curry track featuring slowthai called Zatoichi.
What you reviewing? What you reviewing? What you reviewing?
I could not be more hype for an upcoming album than I am for Burn My Eyez, See Your Future, because Denzel Curry is one of my favorite rappers. Pretty much since around the time of Imperial, I've been following him since Threats, which was the best song of 2013. And, he's just dropped increasingly more conceptual, more interesting, more inventive albums every single time that he makes a release. So always exciting to know that there's a Denzel Curry project on the way. But what particularly has me hyped for this one is that this has him kind of returning to being the artful production type. And it sounds weird to say that, because every single Denzel Curry project, like I just said, has been, if anything, even more conceptually focused than the previous one. But that narrowing of focus has allowed each of his projects to also kind of have more of a particular pocket, as opposed to being as big and explorational as something like Taboo, which was, I would say, the album that this feels like the next step up from. And the reason I say that is, even though the Kenny Beats project Unlocked was a huge part of, growing Denzel as an artist and helping him to reach even more people and really showing off his just raw ability to rap very well, to be creative, and to go off the dome in a way that nobody else is capable of alive right now, I think. That album is, again, very specific. It's very short. And around then, he was also doing stuff like Zoo, which, while one of my favorite Denzel Curry albums, is, again, very specific and kind of short. It's about the specific South Florida energy that he was trying to zone in on, even though it's something he's always had and it's always been around. Again, it's that focusing. Whereas I think albums like Nostalgic 64 and Imperial and Taboo, which is the best of those three in my opinion, are all about telling, and 32 Zell Planet Shrooms, which I also love. Each of those albums was about telling a story, most of which start in a dark place and then go to a lighter place, but then Taboo starts in a lighter place and goes to a darker place, but is overall kind of not as dark as some of the previous albums, because it's more inwardly focused, whereas those ones are more about all the stuff that Denzel is seeing in his surroundings. And songs like Threats are so effective because it sounds like some real gangster shit, even though it's really just about gangster shit, because of the fact that that's, the kinds of stories that Denzel was trying to tell. But he's gotten bigger in scope and also bigger in soul, I would say, to be someone who can put even more meaning into what they say about themselves and about the world, with each new statement. So I think Denzel has grown as a rapper, but hasn't tried since Taboo to make a project that has that same breadth and depth at once. And that's what I feel like we're getting with this thing that's on the way, just based on Walkin' and Zatoichi, which both are simultaneously make sense as being on the same album. They have a lot of similar kind of sample sounds with all the female vocals in the background, and which I don't know who the singer is on either track or if they're the same, but I really like it. The music videos for both of these look incredible, and even though they're both very different aesthetically, they are united in just the gorgeousness of the cinematography, the focus on landscape, and creating a fully realized sense of aesthetic very quickly by making reference to classical, film styles and ideas. And you can see some similarities to when Kendrick Lamar was doing his Kung Fu Kenny thing. But Kendrick didn't go nearly as far into trying to realize very particular aesthetics from that, from that category of filmmaking, I guess. The first one, the Walkin' video, really is mostly a Star Wars type thing, but it's a little bit more trippy and desolate. But, you know, Denzel Curry's always been a huge Star Wars fan, and obviously Zatoichi is meant to be like a samurai movie. And it looks like it was filmed in Southeast Asia somewhere. The video is really gorgeous. It's got just really inventive shots that, you know, wouldn't have existed in those old samurai movies. So it's interesting to see like a very new take on doing that aesthetic. So I really appreciated the music video, and you know, Zatoichi the blind swordsman obviously ties into the whole blind man walking aesthetic of this album. It's essentially an album about like getting to the point of having seen so much that it's burned your eyes out, and now you are like just extrasensory experiencing the world. And you know, I'm really glad that Denzel went in a new direction with these instrumental choices that is more old school, a little bit more classic, but also doesn't quite sound like any particular thing I could point my finger at. You know, it is again like a new way of doing a classic sound, which I think is really cool. Zatoichi in particular uses the amen break heavily, which I am a big fan of. I like music made from it. I would have maybe preferred if it wasn't used as straightforwardly as in this song, if maybe it was more of a jungle type thing, because you could still recognize that it's being built from those parts pretty easily. But, you know, I like the break. I liked hearing it here. I liked what slowthai was doing on it. He's kind of buried in the mix a bit. Do I think it would have sounded better if he was turned up? Maybe, but I think it again reflects the whole aesthetic of the album that, you know, how do you create a sensation of blindness in music while it would be by, or even of extrasensory perception of like one thing is muted, so you're trying to pull out everything else, you know, like when you're not listening to the vocals, it's, or when they're not drawing as much of your attention, rather, you will focus more on all of the other surrounding musical elements, you know, and the vocals kind of become just a part of the music, which is a way that I like using vocals in particular. And those parts of the song sound a lot like a track that I did called Feel Me, Jin Kazama's Ultimate Solitude, which is based on like a Tekken beat that somebody had made on SoundCloud that I rapped over, and it sounds kind of like this because it uses similar breaks, and I did the voice in a similar way with like fast rapping over the cloudy sound. I like that sound obviously since I did it myself, so I'm a fan of it in this song, and I almost wish that Denzel had performed the chorus just because I think his voice would have sounded even better doing it, but you know, it was slowthai's idea, I assume, and it sounds good enough. And Denzel sounds fantastic all over this song. Love the beat, love rapping along to it. It's a pretty simple flow, but there's a lot of unexpected words and bars in there that make it really fun to rap along to if you're looking at like the you know, the words on Genius. So yeah, this is would be a fun one to learn, would be a fun one to hear, and I like that we're atmospheric and cloudy while still being, you know, with clarity in the bars and clear statements being made in the, you know, in the raps. It's just like a lot less obtuse than earlier Denzel stuff in a good way. You know, it's not trying to beat you over the head. It's more subtle, but it's again got that breadth and complexity that I really liked about his early stuff. It's not as intense because the eyes have been seared out, so you can't really see what's going on. You're just kind of vibing with it, if that makes sense. Anyways, time to get back to walking. That's been Denzel Curry. I've been Trial of the Golden Witch, and at Golden Witch Fire on social media. And thanks again for watching. Never forget to keep on walking.